Hiyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. And it was the Monday Night Raw season premiere. You would think that a show that's supposed to be the season premiere, as well as a go-home show for this Sunday's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, following a draft to re-establish a brand split, would be full of new and exciting stories for us to talk about, would have some sort of interesting angles going on, would be doing what they're supposed to do as a season premiere and a go-home show. But we are talking about the WWE here, and they failed on all levels, and they did something that I don't think they have ever done before, and topped themselves in the worst way possible. And we are going to talk about all of that and so much more right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Monday Night Raw review right here on Sledgehammer TV's Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
In order for you guys to understand why this show is, from start to finish, deserving of the poop hammer with absolutely no redeeming qualities whatsoever, it is important that we talk about what this show was supposed to do. This show was a season premiere. What is a season premiere supposed to do for any television show? It usually establishes who the important characters are. It introduces us to the new characters that we need to get to know on the show, and usually puts together a story or some sort of angles or things to get you interested and to give the audience and the viewer a sense of where we're headed as we enter a new year of television. As we said, this was also a go-home show. A go-home show for the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, which is supposed to promote matches, telling us what we're going to see, build excitement and intrigue to make you want to tune in this Sunday. And the WWE did none of these things. They did none of these things. They gave us a season premiere that was full of rematches of matches we have already seen on SmackDown. They gave us repeat storylines, just carrying over things that were happening on SmackDown and bringing them over to Monday Night Raw. And the biggest thing was they are already shitting on the draft. Already, within 1 week, at the first Raw, after the re-established brand split, it's almost like it didn't even happen. It's crazy to me. But like I said, there was one thing they did accomplish. Not something to be proud of, mind you. Something that I have never witnessed before. And that is the most superstars ever buried on live TV in a single television broadcast. And you can't tell me that I'm wrong when you take a look at guys like Keith Lee tonight, you take a look at what they did with Matt Riddle tonight, and even though we don't care about Sucktribution and Retribution is a dead-in-the-water faction as it is, but they made it even worse tonight because they buried this entire team twice within the first 20 minutes of this show. That is absolutely unforgivable. Monday Night Raw actually had me excited for about the first 20 seconds because the show opened up with The Fiend making his debut with Alexa Bliss alongside him, standing there in the ring. They would stand there holding hands, very weird, and I was kind of excited. I'm like, all right, we're going to see what WWE is going to do with The Fiend and Alexa Bliss on Monday Night Raw. So I was ready. I was ready for something to happen, but then the lights go out again and Retribution friggin' shows up. For some unknown reason, they're there to, I guess, jump The Fiend, but then the lights go out again and The Fiend and Alexa disappear, leaving Retribution in the ring for their 8-man tag team match with the Hurt Business. Why we are doing this match now when we have Survivor Series just a couple of weeks away is anybody's guess. It's just typical stupid WWE booking. It doesn't make sense. They don't save anything to be special. That's a match that is made, tailor-made for a Survivor Series, and it's not that far away that you should be throwing it on a Monday Night Raw to kick off the season premiere. And to make everything even worse, not only did the Hurt Business beat Retribution in their first match as a complete faction on Monday Night Raw, Retribution, following their loss, T-Bar was technically a teabag tonight. He was a literal teabag. He got all of the shit in this matchup. He was tapped out by Bobby Lashley in the Hurt Lock, and then the entirety of Retribution got single-handedly wiped out by the Fiend. Can anybody explain to me how this makes Retribution a formidable faction? Even Mustafa Ali was set up to be destroyed by the Fiend. He was saved last minute by T-Bar going in and taking one for the team, and he ended up getting a Sister Abigail for his troubles. Retribution is dead. And then you have the balls later on to have Ali actually give this really good reasoning behind his formation of Retribution. They tried to make it seem like they knew what they were doing. And they linked the whole SmackDown hacker thing to Mustafa Ali for sure. And I think this is bullshit by the WWE. They had no plan for these two storylines to coincide. It just kind of fell together. They heard and seen what people were saying online about the faction having Mustafa Ali in it, and they said, oh, you know what? That would be a great way to tie up our loose end. Let's do that. It's absolute ridiculousness. Retribution is worthless. They are dead in the water. Even Mustafa Ali, he's not going to go anywhere as the leader of a dead faction. It's just crazy to me how they went about this whole thing. You would think they would want Retribution to feel special. They need to go back and watch like what WCW did with the NWO, or go rewatch what they did themselves with D-Generation X and the Nation of Domination and factions of that nature. Go back to those things. You don't put together a badass team, give them a leader, and then just have them lose. But look at what they're doing to everybody else. Matt Riddle was beaten by AJ Styles in a rematch from their SmackDown match that we saw. This is now the second time Matt Riddle, I believe, has lost to AJ Styles. His first match on his new brand. And it's not even so much that he lost to AJ, it's how he lost. Matt Riddle was scared shitless because the giant from the Raw Underground, Jordan O'McBain, I think I'm saying that correctly. If not, I apologize. But the big giant dude that was standing outside the door, Shane McMahon's personal security guard outside the Underground, he's now AJ Styles' new bodyguard. It looks ridiculous. And it really came out of left field. When did Jordan O'McBain and AJ Styles ever cross paths before? How is he under his employ now? And he makes AJ Styles look like Hornswoggle. I don't like the pairing. I think it's weird. There's no real decent explanation behind it. And then to top it all off, Matt Riddle gets dumped to the outside during his match with AJ. He comes face to face with the giant Jordan and gets scared shitless. He was so terrified of this large man that he jumped back into the ring so quickly he ended up getting hit by AJ Styles and then lost the match. His first match on his new brand versus a guy he's already fought from SmackDown, and Matt Riddle is a loser already. The very same thing can be said for Keith Lee. What they did to Keith Lee tonight is unforgivable. It's bad enough they put him in another match with Braun Strowman so quickly. This could actually have been a big money match if they built it correctly. And what I actually thought was going to happen tonight, being that Braun Strowman was coming off of that brutal-ass beating he got by the Tribal Chief on Friday, and that whipping with the steel chair at the end of SmackDown, I thought they were going to use that as their way out to give Keith Lee the win in this situation. They have him pin Braun Strowman and be like, well, you know, Braun Strowman wasn't 100%. He can have that little out. You know, he just got his ass handed to him, beaten down with a steel chair by the biggest, baddest man in the company right now. So if he lost tonight, I think most people would take that as a good reasoning, or, you know, just something to accompany the fact, all right, well, Keith Lee won, and he beat Braun Strowman on Raw tonight, but Braun Strowman wasn't really Braun Strowman. Instead, they take a Braun Strowman that's not 100%. He's out there selling his injuries from Friday, and he beats Keith Lee because he hit him in the balls. He hit him in the balls with his big bald head, right in front of the referee. The referee seen the ball shot. Didn't disqualify him. They're disqualifying guys for breathing on each other on other shows, but in this show, a clear disqualification is not called. Explain that one to me. You can't, because it's raw logic, and raw logic does not exist, and it also is ass backwards. Just like the booking of this matchup. And then as a measure of retribution, pardon the word, but there's no other way to describe it, as a way for Keith Lee to get back at Braun Strowman, he kicks him in the bronze. So now we're having dueling ball shots. It's giving me flashbacks of AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura from a year back, when all they were doing was hitting each other in the balls. Is that where we're going with this? Keith Lee, again, in a big major match, the first match after the draft, that now the roster is established. He's officially on the same show as Braun Strowman, and he goes out there and he's a loser. They booked him as a loser. They changed his music, they changed his outfit, they changed his wrestling style because he's not wrestling the way he was wrestling in NXT. And now he's lost like 8 of his last 10 matches. You would think he was meant for big things. They brought him right up, put him in the world title situation. Had him in matches with Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. And now he's out there losing to the Big Show 2.0. Explain it to me. You can't. Who else was squashed tonight? Once again, we had Lana squashed. I don't give 2 shits about Lana. You don't care about Lana. Nobody thinks she's attributing anything to the show in a positive way. Her wrestling is not that great. Her promo skills are terrible. And she's like a leftover from Rusev Day. And we can't get rid of her because she's signed with the WWE. And Vince McMahon loves his blondes, so she's going to be pushed as hard as she could be pushed. But her husband screwed them over. So for the 5th time in the last 6 weeks, Lana was put through a table tonight by Nia Jax. This was all after she was squashed by Asuka in a championship match that she should never have had. Poor Lana. That takes a lot for me to say. I feel bad for her now. They literally are just punishing her on a weekly basis. And if it's not petty, and they're not doing it on purpose, then they're clearly just fucking clueless and don't know what to do, so they just keep hitting repeat on the same segment week after week after week. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler came out after this attack and we're ready for a Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag Team matchup. And 3 of the tag teams that were in this match shouldn't even be in there. Well, I know that Mandy and Dana are now like a thing. They're really trying to push that. I hate it. It doesn't make sense. Dana Brooke, even in this matchup, tried to hit her finishing. They can't. She's got a finishing move she can't hit. She's missed it every time I've seen her deliver this little somersault off the top rope. She's not hitting her opponent with anything. It's awful. Team number 2, we got Bam Bam. I'm in a tag team with Peyton Royce now. It doesn't make no sense, no. Bum, 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 blah. This pissed me off. Once again, I am not a big fan of the Iconics. I'm not sitting here trying to defend them in any way. But you broke up Peyton Royce from Billie Kay in a tag team that has been established. I understand why they were together. It made sense for Peyton and Billie to be together. They have been friends forever. So you're telling everybody that Peyton Royce is going to get this big push because Vince McMahon is so high on the girl, and then all you do, much like you did with Mandy, is put her in a tag team. That doesn't make sense. Mandy and Sonya broke up. They were the established tag team. They had a name. They had a whole friendship behind it. Now that's dissolved. And instead of giving Mandy a singles run, you got her in a tag team with Dana Brooke, a boring blonde. Now you take Peyton Royce. What are we going to do with her? We don't know. What are we going to do with Lacey Evans? We don't know. Let's put them in a tag team. Let's give Peyton Royce another boring blonde. Another boring blonde that can't wrestle worth a lick. That smells like mothballs and cat pee. Or at least dresses like she does. What are we doing? What was the point? I would have rather have seen Peyton Royce and Billie Kay as the Iconics, because at least that's real. It's real. It was cringy, yeah. Were they good? No. They were not the best. They were not nearly as good as half of the other girls on this roster. But the team made sense. It was annoying as hell, but it made sense. Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce? You can't explain that to me, even if you gave me the printout of Monday Night Raw's layout sheet. It wouldn't make sense. It only makes sense in the mind of one crazy madman named Vince McMahon. And he loves his blondes, don't he? It's crazy. They don't even try to hide it anymore. It's cringe TV at its finest. Just like Elias coming back to Monday night and having a concert tonight. We knew this going in. I wasn't excited about it. I know you guys weren't excited about it. I used to be a big fan of Elias, but then they screwed him up so bad. And then they bring him back after his injury, only to pick up right where they left off. And there's a little bit of a difference here. See, at least before, when Elias was singing to the live crowd, he was singing like a heel. He would take shots at the town. He would take shots at the crowd, much like a modern-day ravishing Rick Rude with a guitar. And I used to dig that. It was the best part of his whole thing before they started having people coming out throwing lettuce at him, people coming out and interrupting him for everything. Elias had a great gimmick. But now here he is on the season premiere of Monday Night Raw. And he plays two really lazy-ass songs. Whoever wrote these songs was lazy. And if he wrote these songs, I apologize, bro, but these songs are lame. They are so lame. They're like a throwback to the generic rock songs of the early 2000s. Something that like Kid Rock or Limp Bizkit would throw out there without the rap element involved. It just has that really lame rock style, like a Nickelback song. Ugh! He made me say Nickelback. Gross. But that's what I felt like I was listening to while we were listening to Elias. And all of this double song performance was nothing more than a lead-in for Jeff Hardy to sneak attack Elias, as apparently he was hiding in plain sight as a member of one of Elias's lame band. He was somebody there. He was wearing a Retribution style getup. He had his face all covered up. But he was out there, he started to play guitar. And he wasn't listening to Elias. And he turned around and took his mask off and took a shot at Elias with the guitar. I don't need to go back down this road. We did this already on SmackDown. Now, I know it never found a conclusion, but if anybody needed to be picked up and restarted fresh, it was Elias. And they failed him with this segment, and it failed us as fans, because it wasn't entertaining. I don't tune in to WWE to watch rock bands perform. I tune in to watch wrestling, but I barely even get that, so I shouldn't be surprised. Sheamus is coming to Monday Night Raw from SmackDown. On SmackDown, he was wrestling Big E. So what are we going to do with Sheamus? We're going to put him against Kofi. Because, the New Day. Might as well continue doing what we were doing over there, but do it over here. This is coming off the back of the 6-man we seen on Friday's SmackDown, their season premiere. Sheamus, I guess, wants vengeance for losing in a 6-man again to the New Day? Again? Now he's out there wrestling Kofi Kingston. It was a decent match. These two guys are veterans. They've been around for over 10 years, both of them respectively. Kofi probably, definitely more so than Sheamus. But the big thing about this match wasn't even so much the match. They made such a big deal about Big E being there in the Thunderdome on screen. And his sole purpose of being there was to will on Kofi Kingston to win at all cost through the power of positivity. And when he did, So Sheamus comes to his new brand and loses his first match on his show after being a consecutive loser on his old show. Who's coming out looking good over here? The New Day, I guess. Did you expect anything different? For some reason I did. I expected things to be different. I'm the idiot. Who's the bigger idiot, me or them? The Hurt Business, in a backstage segment, beats down Titus O'Neil because he wanted to join them. Naturally, somebody wants to join up with us, let's just beat the shit out of him. But this segment only existed because Apollo Crews was traded to SmackDown last week, and they needed to just insert Wrestler B here, because they're not going to come up with anything new. Let's take an Apollo Crews segment and just replace the guy. Boom. We'll take Titus O'Neil right out of catering, keep him in his nice fancy suit, give him some awards for being a dad, and then put him out there to get his ass beat. Absolute waste of everybody's time. Just like what they did with The Miz and Morrison and Senor Take. El Gran Gordo made his debut on Monday Night Raw tonight. El Gran Gordo was Otis in a pink lucha mask with a pink lucha cape, wearing pink tights and pink knee pads and pink boots. Now, pink can be a very masculine color if you're a guy like Bret the Hitman Hart or countless other gentlemen that have worn and donned the color pink. It's not so much that it's an effeminate color, but when you look at the whole package, man, did he look stupid. You couldn't pay me enough money to go out to the ring looking like that, and there's just no way. He's an absolute goof. Now, let me be honest with you. El Gran Gordo, first of all, translates to the big fat man. They couldn't come up with a better name for him, better lucha-inspired name for him than just the Spanish for big fat guy. Awful. So his name, in and of itself, is a fat joke against the poor guy. Now, also, let's be honest, at least in my opinion, I would have actually enjoyed this segment. WWE has done things like this before. If it didn't spit in the face of the draft for the, 20th time this evening. I don't care that I was supposed to believe that Tucker was somebody else, but I do care that they're not respecting their own rules. Okay, we just had the draft, and at that point, if your plans for The Miz and Morrison and for Tucker are supposed to include Otis, and you're not going to deviate from that plan, and you still got the lawsuit pending and all this shit going on, then for what reason were they moved to Monday Night Raw? When the main character in the storyline that they're all playing with is on the other show, so that you have to do something to this level, like make him dress up like a big goofball to not be himself, try to speak Spanish with his ridiculous voice, Senor Take. I mean, I chuckled on a few accounts here, and it was amusing to see him try to pull off some lucha-style maneuvers, being such a big man and all, but it just spit in the face of everything that they just did. And as a fan, I just don't understand. Why draft them to the other show if you want to keep this heavy machinery story alive? And then after El Gran Gordo and Tucker beat The Miz and Morrison on this show, thanks to the interference or the passing by of the 24/7 clown friggin' parade, they're in the back celebrating and dancing with the New Day, and then Mandy comes out of nowhere with a ham. Like, why not just put Otis on Raw? Or you should have left the rest of them on SmackDown. Why split Heavy Machinery up if this is your future plans, at least for the near future? You didn't even finish out what you were doing with them to begin with. This is ridiculous. The Miz's main antagonist is on the other show. The guy The Miz wants to beat up the most, the guy he wants to take the Money in the Bank contract from, the guy he's suing, he's on the other show. So how are they going to get around this without shitting all over the brand split in the next couple of weeks? They're not. They didn't care enough to do it in the first week. They're not going to care going forward, which renders everything about the draft completely useless. And we're just going down the same old roads over and over again. Alexa Bliss debuted on the Firefly Funhouse tonight. And really, it didn't mean a thing. Because it didn't do anything. All it did was confirm something we already knew was coming. Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt are a team. And now Alexa Bliss is in the Funhouse. She had her little Harley Quinn pigtails. She was wearing like a Freddy Krueger style ripped up t-shirt. And they were happy. You know, because he was Bray Wyatt in the Funhouse. He wasn't the Fiend, so she was all happy to be there and waving. And Bray Wyatt did a whole skit with the puppets that I didn't pay attention to because I didn't give a shit. I only really paid attention when Alexa showed up. And all she did was wave to us, and then they left. Bye. See you next time. So they did nothing. They did nothing. I have to still look forward to see what Alexa Bliss is going to do in the Funhouse with Bray. I can't imagine where they're going with it. I dig it completely. I'm on board, but I need them to give me just a little bit more to go on because this was very bare bones, very basic. Plus, I wish Alexa would crazy it up a little bit. You know, like, I understand she's got the new look, right? But why not a crazy mask to go along with him so that when she's out there with the Fiend, maybe she's the Fiend S. That's not a good way to say it. Or like the Lady Fiend or something. I don't know. The Fiend friend. Think of something. Think of something and give her maybe like a half mask so you could still see half of her beautiful face and then she's got a dilapidated crazy half mask on this side. Or let her psycho paint her face with some crazy like inspired makeup or some shit. Otherwise it's just Alexa Bliss. And there needs to be a deviation. She can't just stand out there with a comatose look on her face and be the partner of the Fiend. Like she should, if you're gonna go all in and do it right. After this, we had the Braun Strowman Keith Lee main event, which was a bull kicking fest or a bull shot fest that made Keith Lee look like a piece of worthless garbage, which he definitely is not. I loved Keith Lee. Was excited for him to be coming to the main roster. A lot of you guys were too. But they didn't deliver. For him, for us, or anybody. To make Braun Strowman win, what? He needs to be made to be looking great? He's a loser. He just got destroyed on SmackDown. What are we doing here? Ever since he lost the Universal title, he's done absolutely nothing. He's showing up on Raw Underground. He's beating up Yabba Dabba Kato. And now he's beating Keith Lee. Two guys that should be part of the future, building for the future. The only thing coming to us in the future that we know about at Hell in a Cell, for the Raw side of things anyway, now is Jeff Hardy versus Elias, and who cares about that? And the Hell in a Cell match between the Viper Randy Orton and the heavyweight champion of the world, Drew McIntyre. And these geniuses decide we're going to bring down the red cage, which I still fucking hate. We're going to have Randy Orton sit there in the middle. He's going to tell us all this nonsense. He's going to have a regular Randy Orton promo. It was actually pretty good. It wasn't that bad. But it got really bad. When Drew McIntyre, I guess, couldn't stand to listen anymore, he came out to the ring, but he wasn't able to get in because Randy Orton had the cage padlocked. So Randy's sitting in the ring, he's laughing because Drew can't get in, and then Drew gets himself a pair of bolt cutters, cuts his way into the Hell in a Cell, stands there for a second, closes the door behind him, which is a little ineffective because there's no locking mechanism now, because he just broke the lock. Would have been better if he would have locked himself inside, was able to find a way to find the key or some shit, but whatever. It didn't matter because once he got in there, he stared at Randy Orton. Randy Orton stared back, and these two men are inside Hell in a Cell, and they both want to kill each other based off of what they've been going through the last couple of weeks, and neither man did jack shit. They stood there staring at each other inside the Hell in a Cell, and they cut the feed, and the show is over, and we were free from having to watch Monday Night Raw, which is great, But man, what a lackluster ending, and absolutely no reason for you to be excited, for you to be wondering what's going to happen at Hell in a Cell. You know what's going to happen at Hell in a Cell? Randy Orton's going to beat Drew McIntyre. There's no way Randy Orton's going to face him again and lose. And if they do, then what do they do with Randy Orton after? They have to move Drew on at some point. We can't keep wrestling Drew and Randy at every single pay-per-view. Are they going to do it again at Survivor Series? No, maybe if Randy Orton wins, gets that championship. Do you realize Randy Orton has lost, I think, like 3 times now on pay-per-view to matches involving Drew McIntyre? It's got to turn around for him at some point. That's what I think is going to happen at Hell in a Cell. Let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen at Hell in a Cell, because as far as I know, there's only 2 matches happening on the Raw side of things, and maybe that's for the better. If anything changes, we will talk about it Sunday night when we bring the hammer down on Hell in a Cell following the pay-per-view. But before we get there, we have to get through another episode of SmackDown, and at the rate we're going, it's probably going to be half the night promoting Raw matches that they book over the next couple of days, because I still believe they have no idea what the final card even looks like. This show was a complete and total failure, and it's getting worse and worse by the week, and we have another year until this can even possibly change again, until they start throwing wild cards and brand invitationals and all kinds of shit to try to make things new and interesting. And with Survivor Series coming up, all of this couldn't be happening at a worse time. And if they dare book Survivor Series and start saying the only time, the one time of the year that the Raw and SmackDown, I'm going to lose my shit. And you'll see it here live on your new favorite wrestling show. This one right here. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I know we were a little late to the dance, but hey, life is life, man. But at least I'm here, because I know that the hardcore of you are waiting for me, and you've watched this whole entire episode. And if you did, make sure you smash that thumbs up. And if you liked what I had to say, if you agree with what I had to say, if I made you laugh, if I made you cry, I definitely deserve a thumbs up of approval. So smash that sucker with your sledgehammers at home. Share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they need to know how much of a failure this company is and how they failed big time on a season premiere that was also a go-home show, and we were excited about absolutely nothing. And most importantly, if you are not already a member of the coolest, newest faction in the whole entire YouTube wrestling community, which is the Sledgehead Army of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, hit that subscribe button right now, as we are inching dangerously closer and closer to that 3,000 subscriber mark. And I love each and every one of you more than you'll ever know. I appreciate your viewership so much. You guys deserve an award. I have to try to think of something for you guys. I don't know. You let me. What do you guys want? Maybe I'll make a special show for you guys. Give me some ideas. What are some of the things you might want to see us do here at Sledgehammer TV? Hit up that comment section down below and let me know what you think. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team Thor, the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Snowball, the most important member of the team, as always, each and every one of you. Don't forget, if you missed anything on this channel, everything will be linked in the annotations up above. And if you would like to join me on my Inktober adventure, if you're a fan of art, if you like inking, if you like The Mandalorian, if you like funny pictures, then you got to check out what I'm doing all month long to be part of Inktober. You could do that by following me at the Instagram account, which you see right down over there, or you can follow me on Twitter, which you see right down over here. So follow me over there if you're interested in things like that. You could also watch the Sledgehammer series, where you could see my drawings come to life right before your eyes. So I'd appreciate it if you guys would go check some of that stuff out. And I guess that's going to do it. No more shilling from me. We're going to be done. Thank you so much once again for being here. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube. www.wrestlinginfo.com.